Do you have a thing for humiliation and just have to let the whole world know about it? Do you also want guidance on how to navigate becoming every Reddit story ever come to life? Well, this is Ned's Declassified Divorce Survival Guide. Results may vary. Welcome back, dinner party. There are few forces in this world more sinister than the YouTube apology. It lingers over you with a force so powerful, it will have you making YouTube apology videos to the public for things that you did that did not impact the public. Today, Ned Fulmer joins us from the Try Guys, or I guess the ex-Try Guy, the no longer trying guy. But in all honesty, I'm just kind of making fun of him a little. This video is not about like specifically shitting on Ned Fulmer. This is about us coming together to discuss his comeback, which I always find so interesting. Honestly, the downfall of major influencers is not that shocking most of the time. It's usually something that they did, which is like not surprising that people didn't like it. But the comeback is always where things get interesting. We've seen people make apologies, come back, and have their whole career. We've seen people kind of not really make apologies, come back, and still have their entire career. We've seen people wait 10 years to make their apology, come back, and still have a career. And we've seen people not make an apology at all or acknowledge what happened at all and come back and still have a career. And just for some context on who he is in case you don't know or don't watch the Try Guys, if I could sum up the controversy surrounding Ned Fulmer in like 5 words, Reddit husband comes to life. His story is literally husband falls in love with coworker, nukes his entire life over it. He cheated on his wife with one of the producers of the Try Guys, so basically someone who worked for him. And naturally that created a lot of tension not only in his personal life but also his image and his business. Also, for some context on Ned in case you never watched the show, his whole character and vibe on the show was kind of being a wife guy, like the kind of guy who's always bringing up his wife, talking about his wife. Turns out he wasn't my wife and my girlfriend kind of guy, you know what I mean? And then there's the implications and the inappropriateness of him obviously dating someone who technically worked for him. Hugely common in corporate America, as we've now learned. But now he is back with a new podcast called Rock Bottom. And we only have 1 episode as of right now, but judging by the title, the podcast seems to be men learning how to deal with the consequences of their own actions and learning how to just move on with your life from it and be a better person after the fact. However, the first and current only episode we have right now is roughly 1 hour and a chat with his ex-wife. And I want to watch it here together with you. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't watched the entire thing in full yet, so we're gonna react to it together. And the video starts out with what appears to be kind of like a holding myself accountable kind of an intro.
Hi, I'm Ned Fulmer. 3 years ago, I cheated on my wife with my producer. I know that I represented myself as a kind of wife guy, and I know it's not just about cheating, that I was a company owner and having a relationship with a producer, and you as a viewer, I know that I broke your trust. So I wanted to say that I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to say something a little bit weird, maybe even a little bit controversial about this, because the energy of this is weird. Because it seems like the purpose of this video is not so much even for the audience as much as it is, I guess, to try and dead the conversation. That's what it seems like it's trying to do. But like the I'm sorry part of it is so interesting because like, does he need to apologize to the audience? Because when I think of like a public apology, I kind of think of things more so that actually impacted the public. Like if you said something super racist or super homophobic, then it's like, okay, that had an impact publicly. I'm not impacted at all by this man's divorce. I guess maybe the audience of the Try Guys, because him doing this would impact Try Guys content. But I get it, man. Maybe it was just him dealing with the spiritual call from that YouTube apology. I told you guys. He really just kind of nuked his own family and business in this process. This was, you know, this was really him destroying his own life. But like I said, it does seem like this is less for the audience and more for his ex-wife to be able to say her piece, speak up about it in the hopes of, I guess, ending it and kind of deading the situation and deading the conversation. I am really interested to hear from her though. Like the story of husband falls in love with coworker, ruins his whole family over it seems to be very common. But we very rarely hear from the wife in question firsthand. You know what I mean? What is it like to have watched your husband destroy both of your lives over a crush on a coworker? I'm curious about her experience for real.
I'm on the verge of like standing up and walking out of this room. Absolutely.
How can I move forward in my life without people knowing the next part of my story if they're still stuck on the 2022 part of my story?
That's kind of the thing, isn't it?
It's kind of making me spiral that it's been 3 years since this controversy happened already. Is time moving a lot faster than normal for y'all, or something going on with me that I need to talk to a doctor about? Let me know in the comments.
In 2022, it got so big. But even like going out in public with like my kids or just going out to dinner or something like that,
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that people see is the scandal.
We are still friends. The way that everyone wants to know, like, are you guys still like an item? Are you guys still a couple? Like, no, we really haven't been at all.
People ask me, like, do you forgive Ned? I mean, the answer is no. Absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you? And you are the father of my 2 beautiful children. The fact that I can be around you and still have a good time, enjoy spending time with you and enjoy spending time with my kids, I think that's a win.
Can I point out that he says that they're still friends and she seems to be referring to him only as a baby daddy who she's able to spend time around with now? Like, father of my children who I'm able to stand being around is white people for baby daddy. It doesn't seem like they characterize each other the same way. So it seems like, again, the wife is saying, like, I just want to be able to move on with my life and make friends and it not be this whole thing. I'll be honest with you, I don't see how this podcast is going to accomplish that, but I don't know. I've never been in this situation before, so I can't judge it. Also, my God, this man is vacationing in Spain without the S. Like I said, I know in the last video I have exactly 1 male viewer, so if you're watching, if you would feel comfortable explaining to us why he did this, he is fighting for his life. Obviously, I know you as my 1 male viewer would never cheat on your partner. I know you're a good guy, but I'm hoping maybe you have a friend like this or just have some insight into this. You know what I mean? I'm curious of psychology.
It's hard to hear you saying like, fuck no, I don't forgive you. Like, of course I get it.
Like, yeah, of course I'm still angry. We lost a lot. I found out about your affair from the fans. Somebody sent me a picture. It was like my brain couldn't compute. I didn't see what was actually there. I thought it was your sister. Sort of went into this like this weird state where like nothing was safe.
You know, it's like a addictive cycle, kind of feeling really guilty and ashamed, and then telling yourself the ways in which it's, you know, kind of just lying to yourself.
Not only did you having an affair, just it shattered our marriage, but it also, like, all of that guilt and shame, you like hoisted that on me.
Wait, this is sad.
See, I've never had the experience of like your parents telling you they're breaking up or like being a child of divorce per se. So children of divorce, chime in. Is this the kind of conversations you are hearing your parents have? Because this is insane. This kind of is starting to feel like I shouldn't even be here. Talk about hoisting guilt and shame. I have some of it now. Only seeing your dad on the weekends crowd, chime in. He also does describe his experience with it, which he kind of says is like an addiction cycle, which is an interesting way to frame it because I wouldn't have thought that, but I guess it is. I literally feel like we're just getting to see the inside of these Reddit stories. You know what I mean? I genuinely see these 2 people as characters in a Reddit post. It is interesting though, because it seems to be a common cycle that a lot of completely unrelated people end up in. So, you know what I mean? If there is something gendered to the experience of falling in love with your coworker and then leaving your wife and destroying your family, I would just like to know. I'm a sociologist, I'm an anthropologist. Call me Drewski. That's why we don't understand it, because there's no Drewski skit about this. That's the issue. I can only understand social behavior in the form of Drewski skits, and he hasn't skitted this yet. Let me tell you though, corporate America and a lot of office environments like this are absolutely the poor man's Love Island, all right? It is so real. It is absolutely middle class Love Island. I've worked in offices before, and the flirting that so many men do in the office is so egregious. And these are all married men. Like, this is a hotbed of infidelity. And it made for some fun workplace gossip, I will say. You know, it kept lunchtime interesting, but I was super detached from it because 99% of the time I didn't know these people's wives or families. I depersonalized the wife in the situation so much because I didn't know who she was, which, like I said, I think is why this perspective is kind of interesting to me, because I'm like, oh, this is the opposite side of that, which to me makes the cheating even more confusing because this seems devastating. This seems so hard to deal with. It makes the workplace affairs make even less sense to me, because if you work currently in an office or have ever worked in an office environment like that, then you know that this is kind of par for the course. This is a little bit run of the mill. Knowing that some guy in the office who you work with is definitely a little bit too close to some woman in the office who was responsible for hiring you. Let me tell you, that CEO HR relationship, 1 of 1,000. And the woman who hired you through gritted teeth, who's dating the director of your team, also seems to have a special interest of consistently and always dress coding everyone in the office under 30. Y'all know, no one is more in love than a higher up who is dating someone that he hired while they both have a partner and children at home.
I don't know, I thought we had this love that like transcended, you know, I trusted you so completely. I'm like tearing up just thinking about it. We were just kids. Like, we had so much. There was so much.
The dream started to break apart for me, and then rather than being able to talk about it or to confront those feelings, I wanted to. I guess I was too afraid to say how I was actually feeling. I completely, suddenly, violently shattered our marriage, our relationship, and like everything you knew. And
This is why the kids of divorced parents were bullying everybody in school, bro. They were going through it at home. It's really that dramatic, huh? Okay, so to inject my own opinion into this, what I'm getting more or less is that he started to fall out of love. And rather than discussing it or just maybe deciding to amicably separate, he ended up cheating. And I understand how people feel about when they hear stories like this about the dream falling apart, because there's a lot of people who think they want the marriage and the kids, get the marriage and the kids, and then realize they don't want it and end up deeply traumatizing everybody in their wake, you know? A lot of people's feelings about it being that, oh, well, you should just like suck it up and move on and da da da. It's not really reasonable, because love it or hate it, this shit happens. You know what I mean? It's also pretty common for high school sweethearts or people who get married very young, you know? Like, based on what she said, they got married in their early 20s. There's statistical evidence that shows that marriages that happen later in people's lives, like into their 30s, tend to have a higher success rate than people who get married young. My confusion is, why does it seem like when this happens, people tend to choose the most traumatic way to go about moving into the new phase of their life? You know what I mean? Sometimes for your own happiness, you do just have to skedaddle, but like, can you skedaddle in a fun and whimsical way instead of the worst way and setting fire to your whole life kind of a way? Like, do you have to do the worst thing possible when you need to skedaddle? It's like they see this problem in front of them and they're like, okay, I have some solutions here. And then they go through the list of solutions and land on the worst one. So I was kind of having this like thought while editing. It's like being clinically conflict averse. So conflict averse that you would rather do something that just traumatizes so many other people and destroys so much other things in your life than sit down and just have the awkward, painful conversation that you need to have. It's kind of leaning into that joke of men will literally do anything except just go to therapy. It's literally the embodiment of that. And listen, I watch so much true crime these days that honestly, when I heard him say that, my first thought was, well, at least he didn't family annihilate. Huh. You know, I'm a glass half full kind of a girly. What can I say? And based on the things that I know, surviving your husband falling out of love with you, kind of a dub. You know what I'm saying? You can't trick me. I know how men in this country move when they fall out of love with their wives.
I can live in a world where this has happened and people know, and also we moved on.
All the Ned stans got their closure, I think. I think this is just very interesting for people to see, because we don't often get the inside of these scandals, you know what I mean? I don't often hear someone actually explaining why they did it and then the wife in question being like, well, here's how it really affected me. But at the end of the day, what was the point of this video and what is the wrap up? Show some sympathy to your high school bully, because this is what they're going home to, all right? Their parents have just got divorced and are dealing with the most emotionally heavy thing seemingly that a person can ever experience, because this was nuts. That, my friends, is the end of the video. Me, oh my god, and nobody really was watching this with me. They're over it. They can't relate. They'd never cheat on each other. I am curious if you were a Try Guys fan or a Ned stan or stood for any of these people, how you feel about this whole controversy and how you feel about this whole conversation and the apology. If there's anything I said that you agree or disagree with, I'd love to hear your feelings. And as usual, if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.